The morning light came gently through the laboratory windows, filling the room with a soft, warm glow. Bua felt a mix of emotions as she remembered the night before. She couldn't stop thinking about Finya, her voice, her touch, the way she had opened up. And yet, here they were, caught in this new, complicated part of their relationship. As Bua adjusted her lab coat and got ready for the day, she couldn't forget Finya's words. They stayed with her like a song she couldn't get out of her head. But Bua knew better than to let her emotions cloud her judgment. She had a job to do, and nothing, not even Finya, was going to distract her from her responsibilities. The day passed in a blur of work. Bua kept busy in the lab, sorting and recording the bones she had worked so hard to get. The steady hum of machines and the voices of her colleagues filled the space, keeping her grounded in the present. She didn't look up until Aeon rushed in, her face flushed with urgency.
Phi Bua, the new researcher is here. Can you meet her in the upstairs meeting room?
Already? No one told me she was coming today.
The professor called and said she's on her way, but the researcher is already waiting. Can you handle the introduction until she arrives?
Fine.
Bua sighed. She handed Aeon the papers she had been reviewing and ran a hand through her hair, preparing to meet the visitor. As she climbed the stairs, an uneasy feeling crept over her. Something about today felt off, like a storm brewing beneath the surface. She shook it off and knocked on the door.
Excuse me,
she said as she stepped inside. A figure stood by the window, the morning sun casting her in shadow. When she turned, Bua's breath caught in her throat.
Hello, Dr. Bua.
Finya.
We meet again.
Finya said, stepping closer. She leaned in, brushing her lips against Bua's cheek in a way that sent a shiver down her spine.
What are you doing here?
Bua demanded, her voice a mix of anger and confusion. Finya's smile softened.
I was invited, of course. And how could I say no when I knew I'd see you?
Before Bua could respond, Finya leaned in again, her voice a whisper in Bua's ear.
Tonight, come sleep with me.
You're insane. We're at work, and you're saying things like this.
Finya laughed, rich and carefree.
Why not? Life is short, isn't it?
Bua glared at her, her face hot with frustration.
You haven't changed at all, have you?
Maybe not. But that doesn't mean I don't want to try.
The air between them was thick with tension, charged with something neither of them wanted to name. Later that evening, as Bua walked home, she kept thinking about what had happened that day. Finya had shown up out of nowhere, bold, unpredictable, and yet somehow vulnerable. It left Bua feeling unsettled, but she didn't have time to think too much about it. The past was over, and she had other things to focus on. She had no idea that the night would bring something even more unexpected. Just as Bua was getting ready to rest, a loud knock at her door broke the silence. When she opened it, she saw a familiar face, pale and shaking.
You have to come with me.
What's wrong?
It's the bones. Something isn't right.
A chill ran through Bua as she grabbed her coat and followed him into the night, not knowing the danger that awaited her.